All right, so we're back. Back for more on the Ofra Haza story. And if you were with us last time, we're going a little deeper this time, looking at a side of her that's, well, pretty fascinating, but also, honestly, kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really is. It's almost like, her personal life, especially towards the end, it almost mirrors the struggles that Mizrahi music itself faced.
Hmm.
Trying to break free, find its own voice, be accepted. It's a pretty powerful parallel.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And going through these articles, what's striking is how relevant it all still feels today. I mean, the societal pressures, the personal choices, yearning for family. It's almost like she was caught at this intersection of tradition and changing times.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's what makes this deep dive so compelling, right? We're not just looking back. We're actually uncovering these insights that resonate with our lives today.
Exactly. And for anyone just tuning in, we're talking about Ofra Haza, an Israeli music icon who achieved global stardom. But today we're really focusing on the woman behind the music and particularly the pressures that impacted her personal life.
Right, right. And one of the biggest ones, one that really stands out, is the expectation to marry. We're talking about the 80s and 90s in Israel. Marriage was deeply ingrained in the culture. And for a woman, especially a successful woman, staying single was, well, unconventional, to say the least.
Yeah, it's almost hard to imagine that kind of pressure today,
Hmm.
especially with things like co-parenting and IVF becoming more common. The whole landscape of family and relationships has really shifted.
It has, yeah. And that actually brings up an interesting point, as we delve into Ofra's story, because her experiences are a glimpse into a time when those options, they just weren't as available or as socially accepted, really. It makes you wonder,
Right.
what if she had those choices? How different might her story have been?
Right. That's such a thought-provoking question. And I'm sure it resonates with a lot of our listeners too. Those who might be feeling those same pressures or considering different paths to family. It's like her story's holding up a mirror to our own changing views on family and relationships.
Absolutely, yeah. And it really challenges us to think about the expectations, especially within more conservative communities, that we put on individuals.
It's true. And we often talk about supporting independent creators like Liette Portal and her amazing show on Substack, but Ofra's story reminds us that supporting individual choice is just as crucial, especially when those choices, they challenge the norm.
That's a great connection. And speaking of Liet, have you checked out her YouTube channel yet? She's doing some really incredible work with the Liet Show, My Journey to Infinity, a story unfolding across timelines. It's like this amazing blend of history, culture, personal narrative. It's really captivating.
And here's the thing. Liette's actually eligible for a YouTube Rising Star Award nomination, but she needs to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you're enjoying this deep dive and you want to support another incredible artist, head over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, search for The Wyatt Show. You won't regret it.
Yeah, it's a small act that makes a huge difference. And of course you can also listen to her show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the usual spots. But back to Ofra for now. It's almost like her story foreshadows this very conversation we're having, right?
Right.
About individuality and choice.
It does, yeah. And to really understand that, we need to go back to her musical journey, which is really tied to her cultural identity.
Yeah.
She comes from the Hatikva quarter, a neighborhood in Tel Aviv known for its vibrant Mizrahi culture.
Right. And the cultural context here is important. At that time, Mizrahi music, with its roots in Middle Eastern and North African Jewish traditions, it was often marginalized. The mainstream favored, well, a more Western sound. It's actually similar to how certain musical genres have been overlooked in other cultures too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like Ofra was navigating these two sets of expectations, the societal ones, on women in her community, and then the artistic ones, the barriers facing Mizrahi musicians.
Exactly. And she challenged both. Her early music, while popular in her community, it didn't really break through initially. But her breakout moment, it came with the release of her album Yemenite Songs. That was back in 1984.
Ah, Yemenite Songs,
Yeah.
the album that launched her internationally.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just her voice that captivated people, right? It was the music itself.
Yeah.
This fusion of traditional Yemenite melodies and modern pop arrangements.
Exactly. Yeah. She took these ancient sounds and wove them into contemporary music. It created something really unique, and captivating. It's a great example of how artists can bridge those cultures and really challenge musical norms.
It reminds me of how Liat is using her platform to bridge the gap between past and present, between Israel and the world, blending personal stories with these universal themes. It's a bold approach,
Yeah.
and one that deserves to be heard.
It really does. And just like Ofra found her voice through music, Liet's using storytelling to create something special. So if you haven't already, check out the Liet Show. It's on Spotify, all major podcast platforms, and of course YouTube. And remember, every subscriber counts, especially on YouTube. She's hoping to reach that 1,000 subscriber milestone for the Rising Star Award nomination.
Now, getting back to Ofra, Yemenite songs. It wasn't just a commercial success, it was critically acclaimed too. I mean, critics were praising her, praising the arrangements, the cultural significance. It's like she opened up this door to a world that many people had never experienced before.
It was a defining moment, not just for her career, but for Mizrahi music overall. Suddenly, this music that was kind of pushed aside, it was being embraced on a global scale.
Yeah.
And that had a huge impact back in Israel. It opened the door for more acceptance of Mizrahi artists in the mainstream.
Yeah, it's incredible how one album can spark such a cultural shift. It really speaks to the power of art, right? To change your perceptions and to break down barriers.
It does, yeah. And Ofra's success didn't stop there. She collaborated with international artists, performed at major festivals, contributed to film soundtracks. Her voice, it became synonymous with this new wave of world music, this blending of traditional sounds with modern influences.
Yeah, it's like she became a global ambassador for her culture, right? Bringing those ancient melodies to new audiences and showcasing the richness of Mizrahi musical traditions.
Absolutely. And it all stemmed from her willingness to embrace her heritage, to challenge expectations, to create something truly unique. And that's a powerful lesson for all of us, I think, especially today, where cultural exchange and artistic expression are more important than ever.
And speaking of cultural exchange, Liat is doing amazing work in that area too. Her show, it's a testament to the power of storytelling.
Yeah.
Connecting us across cultures and generations.
It absolutely is. She's creating a dialogue, a shared experience that goes beyond borders. And that's something so valuable in today's world.
It is, and I think that message also resonates strongly with Ofra's story. Because even amidst her own struggles, her music kept building those bridges, kept connecting people.
It did. And that speaks to her strength, her resilience,
Yeah.
her unwavering belief in music's power to transcend differences, to touch hearts.
It's a beautiful legacy, and one that we can all learn from, both as individuals and as a society.
Absolutely. So if you're inspired by Ofra's story and want to support another incredible artist who's carrying on that legacy of cultural exchange and creative innovation, check out The Liet Show. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course on YouTube, where your subscription can help her reach that Rising Star Award nomination. But for now, let's get back to Ofra. Let's delve a bit deeper into her personal life. And unfortunately, this is where things take a bit of a tragic turn.
Yeah, this is where things get a little heavier. And it's important to approach this part with sensitivity. As we mentioned before, societal pressure really played a significant role in Ofra's life, particularly when it came to marriage.
Right. Despite her success, her independence, she faced constant scrutiny for being unmarried. And that pressure, it just intensified as she got older. It was fueled by those traditional expectations and amplified by her public persona.
It's almost like her career success made her singleness stand out even more. It added this whole other layer of complexity to her personal life.
It did. And unfortunately, that pressure led her down a path that, well, looking back, was filled with red flags. In 1997, she married a man named Doron Ashkenazi.
And this is the marriage that many sources describe as troubled from the very beginning, right?
Yeah. Doron had a history of financial issues, legal disputes. Even Ofra's own manager advised against the marriage. But it seems that the pressure, combined with her own desire for family, it clouded her judgment.
It's a reminder that even the strongest individuals can be vulnerable to that pressure, the longing for love and family. And sadly, in Ofra's case, it had devastating consequences.
Yeah, it did. Shortly after the marriage, Doron isolated her from her longtime manager and took control of her career. And this is where things took a really dark turn.
It's almost a classic story, isn't it? A vulnerable individual under immense pressure and someone ready to take advantage. It's heartbreaking to think about what she went through.
It is. And the real tragedy is that her desire to conform, to meet those expectations, it made her more susceptible to that manipulation.
It's a stark reminder that the loudest voices pushing us towards a certain path They're not always the ones looking out for us.
Yeah.
We need to be discerning, listen to our gut, and seek advice from those who truly care about our well-being.
Absolutely. And this brings us to the most devastating chapter of Ofra's story, her AIDS
Okay,
diagnosis.
yeah, this is where things get really heavy.
Yeah.
And what's truly heartbreaking is that, according to the sources we have, she was so terrified of the stigma, of the judgment, that she kept her illness a secret.
Yeah, even from her own family. It just shows how powerful shame can be, how it can make people hide their pain from those they love most.
And that fear of judgment, it ultimately prevented her from getting the treatment she needed.
It did. The sources indicate that she received treatment, but in secret.
Yeah.
And in an unconventional way. And tragically, it was too late. In February of 2000, she was rushed to the hospital in critical condition and
It's just devastating. A life, a talent cut short, partly because of the fear of judgment. It makes you think, how many other stories are out there? How many other lives have been impacted by this fear of not fitting in?
it's a sobering thought, and it highlights how crucial it is to create a world where people feel safe being themselves no matter what. A world where they can ask for help without shame or judgment.
It does. And it's a reminder that we all have a role to play in creating that world by supporting those who are different, challenging those who perpetuate harmful stigmas, and just being kind, being compassionate to those around us.
Hearing you talk about creating that safe and supportive environment, it reminds me of Liette Portal and the community she's building around her show.
Yeah. Liat's The Liat Show, My Journey to Infinity, it's a testament to the power of storytelling, connecting people, fostering empathy, creating a space for those diverse voices.
It is, and she's doing it with with such authenticity, with such passion. If you haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend it. You can find it on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify and of course on YouTube. Remember, every subscriber counts, especially for someone like Liat who's building something truly special.
It's like both Ofra and Liat, in their own ways, are challenging us to think differently, to embrace individuality, and to create a world where everyone feels empowered to share their stories, to be their authentic selves.
That's a powerful message, and one that I think we can all carry with us as we continue to explore Ofra's legacy and the broader societal implications of her story.
I agree. And speaking of those broader implications, I'm curious to dive into how Ofra's story intersects with the rise of alternative family structures that we're seeing today. Because as we touched on earlier, things like co-parenting and IVF, they're becoming more common, more accepted. They're giving individuals more choices, more freedom when it comes to starting a family.
That's a great point, and it's something that we'll definitely explore in more depth just after a short break. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. So before the break, we were really reflecting on the tragic turn of events in Ofra Haza's life and how those societal pressures really played a role in her choices.
It's a difficult subject, no doubt, but there are some valuable lessons we can take from it. Especially today as we see these shifts in what's considered normal around family and relationship.
You're talking about the growing popularity of co-parenting and IVF, these options that just weren't as readily available or really accepted during Ofra's time.
Exactly. Back then in the 90s, these were, I don't know, fringe concepts or just not even part of the conversation. It's like she was living in a time when the possibilities hadn't caught up to the needs, the desires of individuals.
It does make you wonder, if she had access to those choices, how might her story have gone? Would she have felt less pressure to conform? Could she have found a way to be a parent that aligned with her own values?
Such important questions, and
Right.
and they really highlight the need for open conversations about these alternative family structures, especially within those more conservative communities.
It's true. And where he talk a lot about supporting independent creators
Yeah.
like Liat Portal with her amazing show on Substack. But Ofra's story really reinforces that supporting individual choice is just as important, especially when those choices challenge the status quo.
Such a great point. And speaking of supporting amazing creators, have you checked out Lynette's show yet? The Liette Show, My Journey to Infinity, a story unfolding across timelines. It's available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, and Substack, of course.
Liat's show, much like Ofra's music, is really a testament to the power of individual expression.
Yeah.
Every episode, it's this unique blend of history and culture and personal narrative, all crafted with such passion and authenticity.
And what's remarkable is she's building this amazing project with her audience, They're not just listeners, they're participants in the storytelling process.
Right. It's like she's created this space where everyone feels empowered to share their story, to connect with one another on a deeper level. And that's something we need more of in the world for sure.
We do, we do. And while you're exploring Liette's world, don't forget to subscribe to her channel on YouTube, Spotify, all these platforms. Your support helps her reach a wider audience and keep creating this incredible content.
It does. A small act can make a huge difference. And now let's bring our focus back to Ofra and maybe explore the impact her story has had on the world.
One of the most significant, I think, is her influence on the acceptance of Mizrahi music. As we touched on earlier, it faced a lot of resistance from the establishment in Israel.
It's like there was this cultural hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
With Western music at the top and Mizrahi music kind of relegated to the sidelines.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate assessment. But Ofra's success really played a key role in changing that perception. Yemenite Songs, her breakthrough album, it wasn't just a commercial success. It was critically acclaimed, praised for its artistic merit and its cultural significance.
It's like she opened this window into a world that many had overlooked or maybe even dismissed, showcasing the beauty and the richness of Mizrahi musical traditions.
Exactly. And her international success, it amplified that message even further, showing that this music, it had universal appeal. It transcended cultural boundaries. It was a validation, not just for Ofra, but for an entire generation of Mizrahi musicians.
Yeah, and it wasn't just the music itself, right? It was about representation, about seeing someone who looked like them, who shared their cultural heritage, achieving that global recognition.
Precisely. It was a moment of cultural affirmation, a sign that their stories, their voices mattered. And that had a ripple effect throughout Israeli society. It paved the way for greater acceptance, a greater appreciation of Mizrahi culture as a whole.
It's amazing. It's a testament to the power of art, right? To challenge perceptions, to break down those barriers, to create a more inclusive and understanding world.
Absolutely. And it's something that Liette Portal is carrying forward with her show, The Liette Show. My Journey to Infinity. She's weaving together personal stories, historical insights, cultural perspectives in a way that's captivating and thought-provoking. It's a journey of self-discovery that resonates with people from all walks of life.
And she's doing it with the support of this incredible community,
Yeah.
which brings us back to the importance of supporting those independent creators. Every subscription, every listen, every share, it helps them reach a wider audience and keep making the content that inspires, that connects us.
Exactly. So if you haven't already, head over to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to the Liette Show. And if you're enjoying this deep dive, we encourage you to share it with your friends, your family, spread the word, start a conversation. Let's keep exploring these important stories together.
Now, as we go a bit deeper into Ofra's legacy, I think it's important to acknowledge the challenges she faced, not just as a woman in a conservative society, but as a woman in the music industry, which was and still is often dominated by men.
That's a really crucial point. Despite her global success, Ofra had to navigate a system that wasn't always, welcoming or supportive of female artists.
There's that theme again, right, of navigating expectations. This time it's not just societal expectations, but the expectations and biases within the music industry itself.
Exactly. And she had to do it while also battling the stigma surrounding her illness, which, as we discussed earlier, she kept secret. For fear of judgment, of repercussions.
It's really a testament to her strength, her resilience, that she kept creating, kept touring, kept connecting with her fans, even while going through so much personally.
It is. It speaks to the power of art as a form of expression, right? A way to process emotions, to find solace and strength during difficult times.
It's like her music became a a refuge, a way to escape the challenges of her personal life and connect with something bigger than herself.
Yeah, and in doing so, she inspired so many others, reminding us that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can still shine through.
It's a beautiful message, a powerful one, and I think it resonates strongly with Liet's work as well. Her show is a testament to that transformative power of storytelling. Not just to entertain, but to heal, to inspire, to connect us to something greater than ourselves.
Absolutely. And it's a reminder that we all have stories that have the potential to touch hearts, to change minds, to make the world a better place.
And those stories deserve to be heard. So if you're looking for a way to support an incredible artist who's sharing her story with the world, check out The Lanat Show, My Journey to Infinity, a story unfolding across timelines. So you can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Substack.
Your support can really make a difference in helping her reach a wider audience and continuing to create this amazing content.
Now, as we start to wrap up our deep dive into Ofra Haza's life and legacy, I think it's worth asking ourselves, what can we learn from her story? What lessons can we carry with us as we navigate our own journeys, both personally and collectively?
That's a big question, and one that we'll explore in more depth in our final segment. Welcome back. So before the break, we left off with this question, this question of what can we learn from Ofra Haza's story?
Yeah, it's a question with so many layers, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
her journey, it was full of these incredible highs and these really devastating lows, and it touches on so many things that we're still grappling with today.
It does. Absolutely. There's the whole idea of cultural identity and the struggle for acceptance. There's the pressure to conform, especially for women, and then there's the power of art, to kind of transcend those boundaries, to connect people from all these different backgrounds.
And maybe at the heart of it all, there's this idea of individuality, of finding your voice, of having the courage to be yourself, even when the world is telling you to be something different.
Yeah, that's a really powerful insight. And it's something that Ofra, she really embodied that throughout her entire career. I mean, she wasn't afraid to challenge those norms, to embrace her heritage, to create something that was truly her own.
Yeah. And she did all of that while facing so much adversity, personally and professionally. It's really a testament to her strength, to her resilience, and her belief in her art.
It is. It really is. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from her story, that importance of perseverance,
Yeah.
of staying true to yourself even when things get really tough.
Yeah. It's like she's saying, don't let the world dim your light.
Yeah.
Keep shining, keep creating, keep sharing your gifts with the world.
I love that. And I think that message, it ties in beautifully with what Liet Portal is doing with her show, the Liet Show, My Journey to Infinity, a story unfolding across timelines. She's creating this platform for individual expression, for sharing those stories that might not otherwise be heard.
And she's doing it with such heart, with such authenticity. So if you haven't checked it out yet, you really should. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Substack.
Your support, it can make a real difference in helping her reach a wider audience and allowing her to keep creating this amazing content.
Yeah, it really can. So coming back to Ofra, I think it's important to remember that her story, it's not just about individual triumph or tragedy, right? It's a reflection of the society she lived in, a society that was wrestling with cultural identity, with gender roles, with the evolving landscape of family and relationships.
That's a great point. Her experiences, the good and the bad, they give us this window into the complexities of that time, of that place, and they raise these important questions about how we as a society can create a more inclusive, a more equitable world for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, for example, her struggles with those societal expectations around marriage and motherhood, they highlight the need for more acceptance, for more support of different ways of building a family, co-parenting, IVF, chosen families. These are all these are meaningful ways to create a family, and they should be celebrated, not stigmatized.
Absolutely. And I think that's especially relevant today, as we see more people, more families challenging those traditional norms, creating their own paths to happiness, to fulfillment.
Right. It's like Ofra's story reminds us that there's not just one way to live life. We need to be open to different perspectives, to different ways of being, to different ways of loving.
I agree. And we need to be supportive of those who choose to live authentically, even if it means breaking with tradition or challenging those norms.
Well said.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a good place to wrap up our deep dive.
Yeah.
Ofra Haza's life, her legacy, it's a testament to that power of individuality, to the importance of cultural representation, and to the way that art can change us.
It really is. She was a voice that bridged cultures, that challenged the way things were done, and that touched hearts all over the world. And her story, it continues to inspire us to embrace that diversity, to celebrate our own unique gifts, and to strive for a world where everyone feels seen, feels heard, feels valued.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for a way to continue this conversation, to explore these themes in a way that's more personal, more interactive, I highly recommend you check out The Layat Show, My Journey to Infinity, a story unfolding across timelines.
Yeah, you can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Substack. Lyot's creating something truly special, and we know you'll be captivated by her storytelling.
And while you're at it, be sure to hit that subscribe button on her YouTube channel.
Yeah,
Help her get to that Rising Star Award nomination. Every subscriber counts.
it does. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful, inspiring, and maybe even a little bit challenging.
Yeah. Until next time,
Hmm.
keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those conversations going. The world needs your voice.